Scenes of anarchy played out across the country last week as thousands looted stores in Gauteng and KwaZulu-Natal. Today, a joint operation between the police and members of the SANDF aimed at recovering some of those stolen items continues. Our reporter Manqoba Mchunu is at a stop-and-search operation in Soshanguve. Let's cross to him now live for an update. Manqoba, you were out yesterday where we saw police just going into people's houses without warrants. What's happening on the ground in Soshanguve today?
Well, Annika, we are in a different operation here today, this morning in Soshanguve. In fact, this is also a joint operation between the South African Police Service as well as members of the SANDF. And essentially, they have been targeting all the different hotspots where we saw the unrest that took place in the country last week. And yesterday, you recall, Annika, that we were in Sebokeng, where we saw quite a number of goods being confiscated by the law enforcement officials. And as we've noted, the fact that there was some concerns from some of the community members with regards to the manner in which those operations were handled. People's doors were being opened and broken into without the owners of those houses being in those particular homes. And questions also being raised as to whether law enforcement officials actually did have warrants to get into those particular houses. But just to go on what is happening today, it is another operation. We understand that there will be foot as well as mobile patrols that will be going around the different areas here in Soshanguve. But this particular operation, Annika, is not in any way, or I can say, related to the unrest that we saw last week. We know that some of the centers here, the shopping malls here in Soshanguve, were not part of those that were targeted. But this is more of a crime operation to basically beef up security in some of the crime-ridden areas here in Pretoria. And that's the reason why they've come here in Soshanguve. We're seeing members of the police, we're seeing searches, people being searched, and those are some of the operations that they'll be doing. So they are driving around basically and stopping at various spots and searching people and searching vehicles to ensure that the vehicles themselves are not vehicles that have been stolen. You know that Soshanguve, for example, is an area that is very prominent or famous or infamous, if I may put it that way, for vehicle hijacking. So those are some of the issues that they'll be looking into. But also, we've seen immigration services, the Home Affairs, also on the ground looking to check perhaps that whether there are also people that are here or undocumented immigrants that are here in this particular community. And just a short while ago, Annika, we did see, in fact, one of the people being arrested for not having the right papers to be here in the country. So this operation, we understand, is going to continue. They are going to be going to various spots and some of the hotspots, the crime hotspots in this particular area.
Manqoba, it's a show of force, really, and a warning to those thinking of doing any sort of criminal activity. One has to wonder, and I'm sure you've asked the question, where were all these police and the SANDF last week and the week before?
Indeed, Annika. In fact, that's certainly some of the sentiments that we've heard from the community policing forums. You'll recall, Annika, that there was a similar operation, but this one was more specifically targeted at the looting hotspots, which was Mamelodi earlier this week. And in fact, when we went there, some of the community members were quite concerned and, asking those questions, Annika, as to why are we only seeing this sort of deployment now? Why was it not there when it was needed the most during the looting that took place there? So that's certainly been some of the sentiments. But I must say also that most of the community members that we've spoken to, have quite welcomed these operations. They were quite elated to see the soldiers and the police on the ground saying that, they feel protected and they feel reassured as citizens that, law enforcement agencies are there to sort of protect them. But, of course, the issue of the timing, the soldiers, we've asked this to the SANDF, we've asked this to the Joint Standing Committee on Defence on why it is that, this deployment came at such a late time. But the answers that they're giving us, Annika, is that the soldiers don't deploy themselves. It is actually the president that deploys. So they feel that the deployment that is taking place now is quite adequate to ensure that there are no new threats that arise from those unrest that we saw last week, and to perhaps also maintain order and stability, mainly in these hotspots that have been identified as looting hotspots.
Manqoba Mchunu, thank you so much. You've been on the ground with law enforcement agencies for the better part of the week. Thank you so much for always making time for us.